Fed Jerome Powell says he might have to make unpopular decisions to stabilize prices. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell noted that stabilizing prices requires making tough decisions that can be unpopular politically. In other remarks, the central bank leader said the Fed is not and will not be a climate policy maker. In a speech delivered to Sweden's Riksbank, Powell noted that stabilizing prices requires making tough decisions that can be unpopular politically. Quote, price stability is the bedrock of a healthy economy and provides the public with immeasurable benefits over time. But restoring price stability when inflation is high can require measures that are not popular in the short term as we raise rates to slow the economy, the chairman said in prepared remarks. Quote, the absence of direct political control over our decisions allows us to take these necessary measures without considering short-term political factors, he added. Powell's remarks came at a forum to discuss central bank independence and were to be followed by a question and answer session. The speech did not contain any direct clues to where policy is headed for a Fed that raised interest rates 7 times in 2022 for a total of 4.25 percentage points and has indicated that more increases likely are on the way this year. So we heard from Fed Jerome Powell today. He did not give us new information, but he's basically telling us that what they're about to do, especially now, is going to be unpopular, slowing the economy, getting unemployment rates to go up to ultimately bring inflation down is going to mean more pain for the stock market. Now, as far as AMC stock is concerned on the day, the stock is up about 1.40%, and this could be the start of something big, and we'll talk about exactly how and why here in this video. It does depend on the course of economic data and the course of earnings that we are going to get throughout the rest of this week. We have a lot of option activity for next week that could spur a pretty decent gamma squeeze if we do start to break above key levels. And AMC stock has been in this bottoming formation for the last 2 trading weeks or so, and you are getting a lot of bullish indicators as of right now for AMC stock. A lot of RSI indicators and another MACD indicator today. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a minute, but let's get into the Ortex data. So as far as the interactive brokers short availability, you're sitting at 0 shares available to be sold short. Most of the day you've been at about 1,000 shares, 300 shares, couple hundred shares, not a lot of shares. And the cost of borrow rate is 94.12%. Because of that, very, very high. As far as the live short interest of free float, that's sitting at 21.7%, and that is also very, very high. And the amount of shares sold short sits at 111.22 million. Super, super high. 48,000 shares that have been sold short alone here today. And cost of borrow average across all of the different platforms, 251.4%. Cost of borrow max, 286.13%. And cost of borrow minimum at 192.86%. So the cost of borrow numbers here looking pretty good across the board, and that is definitely a positive thing in regards to AMC and the likely outcome of a short squeeze. If you take a look at the option activity, that is continuing to be the down story of AMC. The option activity from institutional investors has not been good, and you can see from this line just the put to call ratio has went from 0.63 not long ago to about 1. So there's a 1-to-1 ratio essentially on puts to calls when there used to be a 2-to-1 ratio on calls to puts. And today the option activity, you've seen 17 orders totaling $3.88 million, positive order value of 0%. But I like to look through all of this to kind of look at what could be coming for the stock if certain things play out. And if you take a look at the option activity, it looks very, very good. If we take a look at the Stonko tracker data, the option activity for January 20th is off the chart. So when you look at this, 3,700 calls that are in the money for next Friday. 457,000 calls that are out of the money. Puts that are in the money, 189,000. Puts that are out of the money, 91,000. So you're seeing a lot of puts that are in the money and very few calls that are in the money. This is your bullish side of things, right? If you do get a gamma squeeze, this is what causes you to move higher. It's the calls that go into the money and the puts that go out of the money. So you have a lot of fuel on the fire as far as the call side. If AMC does make that move to the upside, you could see a massive amount of hedging, about 45 million shares bought by market makers to the call side, and about 18, almost 19 million shares that would have to be bought on the put side. That is a lot relative to the volume that we're seeing, around 20 million every single day. So you could see multiples of the volume that is being traded on any given day that is just in shares the market makers have to buy to oblige for these options. And I think a lot of it is going to come down to CPI. I think bank earnings are going to be important. And then next week, you're going to get more tech earnings. All of this could help to catapult the markets higher or send the markets down lower. If we do get that higher move, I think everything would likely play along, and especially the stocks that have been so beaten down like AMC could have the most room to run. And not to mention the stocks with very high short interest are definitely in that camp, right? AMC fits that bill exactly. So there's that information, just to give you guys a quick rundown of what we're expecting as far as economic data as well for let's go ahead and see. So for, I think I scrolled too far, for Wednesday, that is going to be tomorrow. You're not looking at anything really too crazy. You got some bond auctions, like a 10-year bond auction that could be key for like demand on bonds, where interest rates are going to go. But nonetheless, Thursday inflation rate, core inflation rate year over year, and you do have month-over-month readings for these initial jobless claims as well. These will all be very important. This is the most important thing that is going to be happening this week. When you do take a look at Friday, you got the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Preliminary Survey that is also very important to the markets. Will give you a gauge on where consumers think inflation is going to go, where they think their job security is, if they're planning on spending more money this year, buying houses, whatever. You're going to get all of that sentiment data, and they are big, and they do move the markets, because inflation expectations alone, if they go up, then inflation will go up eventually. That is statistically how it is always played out, guys. So there is all of that information. If we do go ahead and take a look at the technicals on AMC, you've had a moving average convergence / divergence. That is a MACD bullish indicator, and an RSI bullish indicator that did flash as of yesterday. And the RSI is flashing because it's getting away from 30. 30 is oversold. You were oversold for a minute here, and now you're above that, seeing some spikes on the RSI. So that is relative strength. Relative strength is improving. That is definitely a bullish thing across the board. You want to see that. Now, if we're looking at the MACD, you did get a MACD divergence and convergence indicator, because this yellow line, the CCC line, did break above the signal line, which happened right here as of yesterday. And that is bullish, because I mean, just look, right? Every time these lines are green and it's in bullish territory, the yellow line is always above the blue line. When it goes into a kind of downturn, the yellow line goes under the blue line. And look at what happened back here in November, right? The yellow line breaks above the blue line again, gets pretty bullish here, and you also seen a rally in the stock. So rallies can start once you get this convergence of the MACD indicators, the CCC line as well as the signal line, guys. So that is pretty much going to be all for this video. If we do get all things going smooth this week and we don't see any major downturns in the markets, and things can kind of get a boost from a positive CPI report as well as positive bank earnings, positive bond auctions, positive Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey, then you could probably target about $5 by the end of this week if things could get really bullish for securities. And at that point, once you get that bullish, it puts a lot of pressure on shorts. Not even if there's specific news on AMC, it just encourages them to cover on their short positions, because if you're not going to make money, then why have that short position? If you're not going to make money, you're ultimately going to lose money, guys. So that is it for this video. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.